Hey everybody, welcome to part 7, and this will be the final part of this video series on doing the hardware swap between this black system, which previously had the AMD Phenom II Quad 925 CPU, and that silver system on the left there, the one that these two printers are sitting on top of, that previously had the AMD FX-8120 CPU and setup. So, just to give you a quick little recap, what was supposed to have been a pretty simple hardware swap ended up being a whole lot more than simple. That system there was a breeze, didn't have any issues with the Phenom II Quad 925 and the Asus motherboard that's with it. Installed it into that system after pulling the FX-8120 and ASRock motherboard out of it, and it's ran perfectly fine. Yeah, I've done a couple of little mods to it, which you'll see in a moment. But this one here, the recipient of the FX-8120, this one was a pain in the butt because the motherboard, this is for MidTower Deluxe hardware, the ASRock 890FX Deluxe 4 motherboard, it just would not run stable. At first I thought it was maybe the CPU was going bad because, I mean, I had it overclocked for quite some time on the MidTower Deluxe, and I had it overclocked pretty hard. I thought maybe the CPU was going bad, so I went on eBay and purchased a Phenom II 6-core 1045T processor. Installed it. Same deal. This is after I changed the power supply and tried a different CPU on it already. I put a Athlon 2 dual core on it and it ran fine, which made me think, okay, maybe it was the motherboard. Or excuse me, maybe it was the CPU that was bad. But when we put that Phenom II 6-core in there, it got unstable. Ultimately, it had, I believe, there's an issue with the motherboard's VRM for the CPU. Probably delivering unstable power to the processor or something like that, causing it to be unstable. It would act like it was, it basically would act like it was heavily overclocked when it wasn't overclocked at all. It would crash, lock up, all that good stuff. So, went on eBay, purchased a different motherboard for this one. Purchased this Asus Socket AM3 Plus motherboard. A little bit newer. Natively supports the FX-8120, unlike the ASRock board, which required a BIOS flash. And this one now, finally, is running perfectly fine. And you can see that we have a custom water cooling loop on this thing. The reason why we have the custom water cooling loop is, well, because the ASRock motherboard had a really tall VRM heatsink that was in the way, and I could not use the FX branded all-in-one liquid cooler that this machine previously had. So okay, I was like, okay, I'll go in to custom fab up a water cooling loop for it, and I did just that. Did it kind of on the cheap. Used an existing radiator I had kicking around that had been used for, geez, like 10 years. So put some new O-rings on the little fittings there. There's compression fittings. Bought some compression fittings for the Heat Cure 3.0 LC water block that was from the MidTower Deluxe. Bought a Sys Cooling integrated water pump reservoir. Bought some tubing from Lowe's. Some nylon PEX fittings, those black things. And also had some existing brass ones. And some zip ties. And a mixture of car antifreeze and distilled water, and we have a water cooling system in this thing. But yeah, so finally, this one's running perfectly fine. And should mention, if you haven't already, if you'd like, feel free to go check out the whole series of videos on this. So there's this system running, and you can see I got it running Windows 11. And I should mention that this machine does not meet the Microsoft Elite Class meal system requirements for Windows 11. In other words, the Windows 11 system requirements are not met. But you can see this thing will run Windows 11 just blazingly fast. It's got a 240 gigabyte solid state drive or 256 gigabyte solid state drive in it, along with a 640 gigabyte hard drive for data storage. This is a UEFI motherboard, however the graphics card does not support UEFI, so it's still running in CSM. Graphics card is a Radeon HD 6770, and you can see it restarted Windows 11 with a pretty respectable time. I didn't actually time it out, but I guess you could look at the video player and see exactly what the time is. But yeah, this thing runs Windows 11 pretty dang well, despite not meeting those elite class system requirements. So there's another prime example of why the Microsoft elite class minimum system requirements are just so ridiculously high. And know that Microsoft doesn't officially call those the elite class requirements. That's just a nickname I've come up here for quite some time, because, well, those requirements are elite class, considering what they require from your computer to run this new OS. But yeah, this one here running just fine now, finally. About freaking banged my head against the wall dealing with this one. But yeah, this one's running just fine now. So we're going to go ahead and shut this one down, and we'll go and switch out for the MidTower Deluxe Jr. And we are shutting down. Like I say, pretty fantastic little machine now. Well, ain't really little, but pretty fantastic machine. Again, has former MidTower Deluxe hardware. It has, well, some of the hardware is former MidTower Deluxe hardware. I mean, the CPU and the RAM. Those are like the only two things in there now that are from the MidTower Deluxe before it got graded in late 2017. That being said, I'm going to swap this one out for the silver system. Okay, so here we have the MidTower Deluxe Jr, the silver system, up here on the table. Let's go ahead and start it up, and you'll see why I call it the MidTower Deluxe Jr. Looks awful familiar, don't it? Looks like the older MidTower Deluxe. Very fast Windows 10 startup. This is Windows 10 22H2. So you can see Windows 11 is a bit more bloated than Windows 10. Yeah, Windows 10 definitely runs good and snappy on this machine. So this one has the AMD Phenom II quad-core 925 CPU, and you can see it's reporting the speed as 2.8 gigahertz, which is the stock clock. For example, if I go in here and go to all items and go to system, it also shows 2.8 gigahertz there. However, if I pull up CPU-Z, you can see we're actually running with a pretty mild overclock. It's running at 3 gigahertz. The bus speeds increased a little bit. Matter of fact, my late buddy Tim actually is the one who overclocked this machine a long time ago, or at least that motherboard. And that overclock has been holding just fine, despite not being liquid cooled anymore. So this motherboard and CPU in the previous system had that AMD FX branded all-in-one liquid cooler on it. You see things a little better now. Sorry about that. So you can see running at 3 gigahertz, and the task manager is reporting 2.8 gigahertz. This is reporting the base speed. Apparently this has something to do with Windows 10 and Windows 11 with the task manager, and also the system properties. Kind of odd. But anyways, here's a look inside the system. We have a factory. It's either a FX CPU cooler, or I think it's actually a Phenom II X4 CPU cooler, which on the 925, since the 925 is a 95 watt CPU processor, it handles it just fine. You can see I got the CCFL set up in there. So these are actually the CCFL lights out of the MidTower Deluxe. One thing I did do though was, instead of having that little variable like rheostat, that sound activated cathode setup, I just replaced it with an existing on-off switch setup I had from a different kit. So we can get that little pigtail wires hanging at the back of the system. And the cold cathode lights just stay on unless you hit the switch and turn them off. So yeah, it was definitely a lot of work. I mean, with the black system, which is back there in the closet now. But I'd say overall it was worth it. So this one might be going, this system here is going to probably be going to one of my close friends who's needing a better system. The case is pretty nice, although I don't really much care for the door. I mean, it does look nice, but matter of fact, I had to fix this door a couple years ago. You can see right up there, big old blob of hot glue holding a screw in place because the original hinge broke. So I just broke the rest of it off. And I used a like a drywall screw or something like that with some hot glue. And you can see it's holding just fine. Now, as long as I don't keep this computer somewhere where it gets hot enough to melt the hot glue, would be good. And that's why there's a little screw there, because, well, it's now the new hinge. I just drilled a hole through the case there, the plastic, to make my new hinge. And you can see we've got these wires going through here, and it looks like they've been repaired before. Probably they got caught on something and broke, who knows. It's, well, I'm not too big of a fan of this door. You can't remove it because, well, it's got the power and hard disk activity indicators built in. So yeah, guys, that's kind of a brief overview of both of these systems. I think the MidTower Deluxe Jr looks really cool. That's a good name for it. I love the blue and the green. I think it looks really cool. Anyways, that wraps up for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Well, everybody, that wraps up for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to CubeComputer channel, and be sure to tick the bell. That way you get notified of new video posts. Also, I recommend following CubeComputer Company on Facebook. A link is in the video description. In addition to computer tech videos, I have a second channel, CubeCompMTDX. Links are available at the end of this video. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching and your support.